Hi everyone. So hopefully you can hear me with the noise going on over there. I am outside right now. It is pretty cold. So yeah, I can see my breath. It is cold. Um, but I had my hot chocolate here, and we are going to talk about some books. Or I'm going to talk about some books, and you're going to listen to me talk about books if you watch this. So yeah. This is going to be a wrap up. I'm not sure what number I'm on now, so I'm going to have to look and see. I'm pretty sure it's like 30 something or 30 through whatever. So just to get them out of the way, because I don't always remember which book has what segments and stuff into it, because it's not like a continuing story. They're like little sections. I read 3 of the Phoebe and her Unicorn books. Unicorn Famous, Unicorn Crossing, and Unicorn Theater. I'm pretty sure I like Unicorn Theater probably the best out of them. Or maybe it was Unicorn Famous. I always like them. They're always cute and adorable, and like I said, if you need a light read, I always recommend them. I do remember out of Unicorn Famous, the thing was that there's like a rule that was made because of Marigold and Phoebe, and she's like happy because she's like unicorn famous, like she's famous in the realm of unicorns. So I mean, it's just cute. And I'm pretty sure that I've read at least half of those by now, because I think there's maybe only 20 or so. So that's good, because I've only completed now like 3 series, which that I will be talking about. Now, I have just about finished the Lunar Chronicles. What I mean by just about is that I have now read all 4 of the main books and fairest. So a couple of months ago or so, I know I talked about Press, and honestly, like I said before, I still don't remember a whole lot about that book, but I loved Winter. So continuing on from Cinder Scarlet Press, Winter is the 4th and final like main book out of the Lunar Chronicles. And I feel at this point it's kind of hard to talk about things, obviously being the last book, without spoiling a lot of things. Well, maybe. It's just, I really like the Lunar Chronicles, okay? So like I said, I just finished Winter and Fairest, and yeah, I really liked it. Like, I was listening to it like at home and at work, because I finished the series off, those 2 books, on audio. And it's been a while since there's been like a book that I really wanted to get back to. Like, I've always loved reading and everything, but there are just certain books that you just want to really get back. It's almost like watching like a favorite show and like a new episode coming on. It's just, you want to find out what's happening and stuff, and I haven't felt that way since I read The Hunger Games. And like, the first Hunger Games book is like probably my favorite book of like all time, right? So but I'm not sure if the series itself would be like, I think the Lunar Chronicles could like rival that. It has its issues, but I'm gonna say Winter is probably my favorite next to Scarlet, which was the second book. Winter's like 4th, you know. But yeah, so continuing on their fight against Queen Lavanna and, you know, trying to basically save the planet from an evil moon queen, basically, because people have, you know, established life, basically colonize the moon, and she is this like ruthless, like basically ruthless queen, dictator, whatever you want to call it. And of course, you know, you would have to read the other books to know about what happens and how they get to where they're at, and what happens with Cinder, and how they all meet, and all this other stuff. Because it kind of like, you know, continues on and kind of like all follows each other. But it's between Scarlet and Winter that's probably my favorite out of the series. I loved Winter as a character. She was just so sweet, and I like that she didn't want to like use her lunar gift to manipulate people. Of course, like in the first 2 books, you find out the secret that is about Cinder, and that's kind of like one of the faults of the series, is that it's one of those twists that you see coming, like you just see it coming. You can see it coming from like a mile away. Kind of cliched, I guess, because it's kind of like one of those twists that are like, come on, what else would it be, right? So in some ways it's kind of tropey, but I loved how she just took these fairy tales and made this like slightly futuristic, kind of sci-fi-ish twist on them, and I thought that was like really interesting. And all the characters are really interesting. But yeah, there was just so much going on in this book, but it was like not hard to follow, and like I said, I liked all the characters, and I kind of like that. See, it's kind of hard to talk about things because you don't want to spoil it, but I kind of like that when we found out certain things about certain people, that happiness just didn't fall into place. Like, that's kind of the thing that I liked about like the Hunger Games, is that things were a little bit more realistic. Like, things just weren't perfect. Like, there was a lot of like heartbreak and pain and everything in the end, and I kind of like that it didn't just wrap up all, oh, I found my family, oh, I found this, you know, long lost this or whatever. No, people still died in the Lunar Chronicles. People were still bad, right? You know, so I kind of like that, where yeah, it doesn't have to be totally miserable. Like, Lunar Chronicles ended probably a little happier than like the Hunger Games and a couple other things, but it still didn't have like an absolute perfect, everyone is happy, everything is okay, there's like, I didn't find out anything bad, everything is golden kind of like ending, and I really like that. Like I said, I would definitely say, like I said, it has its flaws. Every book does. There's certain things that kind of annoyed me, but for the most part, I love the characters, and Winter might have just been the best book out of there. Moving on, or I might keep gushing about, like, you know, Winter, because I really like this series, and I will reread this. I read Dry, by Neil and I believe, is it Gerard Schusterin? So I read a couple books of his before. I read the first Unwind book, and I read Challenger Deep, so I like, you know, his writing style. And I seen Dry, it was on like Libby, so most of these are audiobooks, and I'm just gonna tell you, I count audiobooks as reading. Okay, so I count everything on my reading, audio, ebooks, regular books, paperbacks, hardbacks, you know, any genre, children's books, young adult, adult books, whatever. If I read it, if it's a story, if I consume it, I count it. Okay, so just, you know, putting that out there, that a lot of these I'm talking about are audiobooks, if anybody cares. But I don't remember everything just because it was kind of split up, because I ended up moving from one state to another. So I kind of lost my stuff that I had in Hoopla there. I think I was listening to Hoopla, or maybe it was Libby. I don't know. I think I listened to it on Libby. But so I had it split up, and I don't remember everything because I didn't listen to it like straight through. And so some details I forgot. Drinking my hot chocolate here. So basically the story is about a group of people. Well, each group of kids, basically. It's basically a young adult novel. But anyways, there is like a major drought that happens in, I believe it's California they live in, and there is no more water. Like, they call it the tap out. And basically, like many books, many, especially young adult novels, there is a group that seems to be kind of a thing. I notice. I'm not sure if it happens with a lot of adult books, because for the last few years I've read a lot of young adult. But for some reason, when something happens, there's like a bunch of people, especially younger people, that kind of like meet by chance or whatever. And that's one of those kind of books. Basically, there is a tap out, there is no more water, people are, you know, dehydrating and going crazy for water because there is none. So they can't drink water, they have nothing else to drink because basically everything is made with water, really. And you know, people are looking for water and they're going crazy because you could die without water, obviously. So, yeah, basically these people end up together searching for water, fighting for water. There is a scene in there that, I was like at work listening to this, and I wanted to like gag. But that's kind of thing that I like about books and reading. And good storytelling is when it can make you feel a certain way. And especially when you can see it happening. So one of the characters gets like saliva like on her like hands, and it's like really gross because somebody tries to like lick it. And I wanted to gag, but at the same time, you can see why that was written, because these people are desperate, like that they've been days without water, and they are dehydrating. Like, they talk about like wanting to cry, but they literally can't like produce tears and everything because they are like dehydrated. So these people are like all in survival mode, and it was just so gross. But it's like, yeah, you can see somebody being that desperate. So yeah, I like the book. I gotta go back and finish the Unwind series, but yeah, Dry was like really good. Maybe one day I'll like reread it again and like read it straight through, because I forgot a lot of detail. I listened to Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix, I think is the name. So never read anything by him before, and I will probably read more. I really wanted to read the Final Girl support group because that just sounded like really interesting. But they don't have that on Hoopla or Libby right now. Not that I've seen. But I listened to Horrorstor, and I liked it. It was an interesting read. Where I listened to it. And I don't know if you would call anything like light horror reading because it wasn't like. It's not very long. I don't think the book is even like a whole 6 hours by audio. Like, it's pretty short. And there was nothing like too heavy in wording or narration or anything. So I kind of like that. So it's kind of like if you want to read something like spookier or whatever, but don't want like a long novel or anything, I would recommend that one. Basically, these people work in the store. I believe it's called Ask, like OSK or something like that. And it's basically like an IKEA-like store. And there are a bunch of like strange things going on. And so then like the supervisor or manager, I forgot what the hell he's supposed to be, but basically he asked a couple people to stay like overnight because they want to like catch the person that's doing that. But of course it's not a person, it's more supernatural events. And yeah, I thought it was an interesting concept, like a haunted IKEA-like store. Yeah, I really liked that one. That one was interesting, and the book cover looks interesting. I didn't read the like book. Like I said, I like read the audio, but I would be interested in like reading like the physical book too. The next one I'm going to talk about is probably my favorite book of last year next to Scarlet, because I had just I finished Scarlet last year, and then this book because like I said, winter, I just finished like a few days ago. It is so cold. But The Shape of Thunder, it is I guess you would say middle grade book, or maybe even young adult book. I'm not sure what it counts as, but I'm going more middle grade, maybe early young adult. So keep in mind that this book is written for a younger audience, and it is split up between two characters, and they seem believable as like young adults because they're like, I think like 12 years old. But anyways, it is a story about two girls who used to be best friends. One is named Cora, and the other is named Quinn. Cora is her father is from Lebanon, and it seems like her mother's side of the family might have been white. They didn't really specify that, but that's kind of like what it seems like. So, and then Quinn is white, and it's not like a huge thing, but well, sort of. That sort of plays a part into the story. So basically, what it is about is these two friends, and the reason they are no longer friends is because Quinn's older brother had killed Cora's older sister in a school shooting. And while Cora's family, her father, and then her maternal grandmother, the mother of Cora and her sister Mabel, that was her older sister that died, left the family. So there's not a whole lot about the mother, except that she basically abandoned the family. And so the grandmother and the father, they don't want her to stop being friends with Quinn, but she feels that she owes it to her sister to not be friends with her anymore. And of course, Quinn is heartbroken over the fact that her brother did such a heinous thing and that she lost her best friend. So there's a lot about, the parents ignoring the signs that her brother was giving. Like, Quinn feels a lot of guilt because she misses her brother, like she misses who he used to be and everything. And she's mad at her parents because they never acknowledged, like, the change that he went through. How he talked about, like, women and minorities and the groups online that he would join. And, like, how he treated Quinn, at, like, dinner and stuff, and how disrespectful he was. Like, they never put a stop to it. And now, after that he had killed people, the father basically wants to move away and forget everything. He wants Quinn to make new friends, but, she's holding on to, like, the hope that, Cora will be her friend again. And Cora is mad because she feels that somebody could have stopped him. And there's, like, a part in the story, because there's, like, a side thing where Quinn believes in, like, attempting time travel, and she wants to, like, time travel and fix everything. And so they slowly start, like, talking to each other again. And there's a part where, Cora asked Quinn, did your brother target my sister because she's Muslim? And there's this whole thing with Cora, that she doesn't, like, feel Arab enough, and sometimes she feels, like, too Americanized. Like, she wants, like, culture to hold on to, because while they're not, like, strict Muslims, she wasn't, like, raised with Arab culture. She kind of feels like she is maybe an example of things. Like, she has to also pick between being American, or she's not American enough, or she's not, like, Arab enough. And so she's going through all of that, and the possibility that maybe her best friend's brother had, I think the brother's name was Parker, I'm pretty sure, had targeted her sister simply because of their religion and culture. And so there's just so much going on about abandonment, identity, with culture and religion, and violence, and forgiveness. And it was just such a good book and everything. It's just really sad, but I like that they were written in a way that they felt like believable, because a lot of times people kind of have a character that's, like, a certain age, and they, like, kind of do things that wouldn't make sense for their age and everything. And everyone just felt, like, realistic for like their age and their position, like parent or therapist or whatever. It was just such a good book. Yeah, that's probably one that I would probably read again. It was just really sad, but something that unfortunately is a reality for a lot of people. I just realized that I didn't talk about fairest when I talked about winter. So Ferris is like Lunar Chronicles 3.5, because I guess you're supposed to read them in between Cress and Winter. But I read it at the same time that I was reading Winter, and I really liked this one. It was short, but it's a villain origin story basically about Lavanna and how she becomes queen, and kind of why she is the way she is, and like her it, it's brutal in a way. Like, the book starts out with her parents basically having been murdered, and it talks about how like that color of blood would like look on her, and it's like, that is so morbid. But she kind of thinks that that's how her parents would have thought about her death. Like, she was basically raised to be ruthless. Her and her sister Channery. Um, yeah, they are raised to want power, and certain things happen where we see how Winter becomes her stepdaughter, and the manipulation that she does on Winter's father, and it's just all kinds of screwed up, but you kind of understand that this is a person that is trying to survive how she's been um, raised, but then you don't sympathize because there's so many other ways that she could have done things. It's kind of one of those, yes, in some ways bad things have happened or you have been taught bad things, but it has been your choice to continue that cycle. And I just thought it was really good. It was really good for a short book. I would have liked to know more about things. I haven't read Stars Above yet, so I don't know if there's anything that tells more about the world of the Lunar Chronicles, specifically. But yeah, it was a short, dark read. But I like this better than the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think Marissa Meyer did a villain origin story a lot better in less pages. I just do. So, anyways, that is my reading wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye bye.